Why do super empaths often end up drawn to avoidant people? The answer begins with a truth most people misunderstand. Super empaths are not weak or needy. They are deeply intuitive individuals with heightened emotional perception. They can sense emotional shifts others miss, which makes them naturally calming, safe, and deeply understood by those around them. Avoidant individuals, however, move through life with emotional defenses. They are not emotionless. They simply learn that closeness can feel overwhelming or unsafe. Yet, beneath that distance, they still crave connection. When these two meet, something powerful happens. The empath radiates acceptance and emotional safety, which begins to soften the avoidant's defenses. For a moment, their walls start to drop. But at the same time, intimacy triggers fear in the avoidant, so they often pull away just as connection forms. This creates a push-pull cycle that can become emotionally intense and confusing. Super empaths are naturally drawn to emotional depth. They don't just see distance, they sense the pain underneath it. They recognize wounds, fear, and potential, and often feel a subconscious urge to heal it through love, patience, and understanding. Avoidants, in turn, feel both comforted and threatened. The empath's presence feels safe, but also exposes emotions they've spent years avoiding. So they move closer, then retreat again. The empath responds by giving more, trying to stabilize, understand, and repair the emotional distance. But instead of creating closeness, this often deepens exhaustion and confusion. They begin questioning themselves, wondering if they are not enough. What makes this bond so strong is that both sides recognize something familiar in each other. Many empaths grew up learning to read emotions to stay safe, becoming over-attuned to others. Avoidants often grew up where vulnerability felt unsafe, leading them to shut down emotionally. When they meet, it feels like connection, but it is really survival patterns interacting. One moves toward love, the other moves away from it. Without awareness, this cycle repeats. The empath keeps giving, the avoidant keeps withdrawing, and both remain trapped in emotional intensity that feels meaningful but painful. The empath often believes that if they love harder, they can heal the avoidant. But real change only happens when the avoidant chooses inner work for themselves. The deeper truth is this: empathy is not meant to become self-sacrifice. When a super empath stops chasing and starts choosing, the dynamic shifts. Their energy becomes grounded, self-protective, and clear. Instead of being drained, they begin attracting relationships that can actually meet their emotional depth. In the end, this attraction is not coincidence. It is the meeting of two nervous systems shaped by old emotional wounds. And until those patterns are seen and healed, the cycle continues. What most people overlook is that this pattern often begins far earlier in life than they realize. Many super empaths grow up with caregivers who are emotionally inconsistent, sometimes present, sometimes distant, sometimes overwhelming, and sometimes completely unavailable. In that environment, a child learns that emotional safety depends on constant observation. They become highly attuned to tone, mood shifts, body language, and unspoken signals just to feel secure. Over time, this survival mechanism develops into emotional intelligence. As adults, it shows up as compassion, patience, and deep understanding. They become people who can truly feel what others are experiencing. But there is a hidden cost. They often struggle to prioritize their own emotional needs and may tolerate relationships where those needs slowly fade into the background. Avoidant individuals often come from a different but equally impactful emotional background. Instead of inconsistency, they may have experienced emotional neglect, criticism, or punishment when showing vulnerability. As a result, they learn to shut down emotionally and rely only on themselves. Emotional distance becomes their protection. So when a super empath and an avoidant meet, it is rarely random attraction. It is a familiar emotional pattern playing out again in a new form. The empath instinctively senses the unresolved pain beneath the avoidant's guarded behavior. They don't just see distance, they feel what lies underneath it. This creates a strong pull to understand, to soften, and to reach the part of the person that has been hidden for years. The avoidant person, meanwhile, experiences something unfamiliar. The empath brings acceptance, emotional attunement, and lack of judgment, something they rarely expect. It feels safe, even comforting. But at the same time, being truly seen creates discomfort because emotional exposure registers as danger. This is where the push-pull dynamic begins. The empath often believes, often unconsciously, that if they love harder, stay longer, or understand more deeply, they can help the avoidant feel safe enough to open up. The connection starts to feel like something that can be healed through effort and patience. The avoidant person feels both drawn in and overwhelmed. The empath's warmth feels grounding, but closeness quickly becomes intense and threatening. So they pull away, not because they feel nothing, but because emotional closeness triggers fear they have carried for years. The empath interprets this distance as something to overcome. They try harder, give more, and hold on longer. Small moments of connection feel meaningful and reinforce the belief that breakthrough is close. But over time, they become more emotionally entangled. At the same time, the avoidant experiences the empath as someone who sees through their defenses. That level of emotional awareness feels rare, even powerful, but also unsettling. It forces them closer to emotions they have spent years avoiding, so they move forward and backward repeatedly. What makes this dynamic so strong is not just attraction, but familiarity. Both are repeating early emotional conditioning. The empath learned to earn love through emotional effort. The avoidant learned to stay safe through emotional distance. Together, these patterns lock into each other. For the empath, the avoidant becomes a symbol of depth, mystery, and potential healing. They believe that if they love enough, the other person will eventually open up. That belief is what makes letting go so difficult. But in reality, this often leads to emotional overextension. The empath gives more than they receive, stays longer than they should, and becomes attached not only to the person, but to who they believe that person could become. And that is what keeps the cycle alive. There is a subtle but real imbalance in this dynamic that often goes unnoticed at the beginning. For many avoidant individuals, emotional intimacy doesn't just feel uncomfortable, it can feel overwhelming and even destabilizing. When they are faced with someone who is emotionally present, steady, and deeply attuned, like a super empath, something inside them reacts strongly. They feel safe, but also exposed. The empath's consistency, patience, and emotional clarity creates a sense of grounding for them. But at the same time, being deeply understood brings emotional visibility, and that visibility often triggers fear of dependence, loss of control, or emotional exposure. So instead of moving closer, they pull away. And that retreat often leaves the empath in confusion, questioning their worth or what went wrong. But the deeper truth is simpler. The empath is not lacking anything. They are not too much or not enough. They are simply offering emotional safety to someone whose system is not ready to receive it. This is where things start to become emotionally risky. Super empaths often mistake emotional intensity for real intimacy. The closeness, the distance, the return, and the withdrawal can feel like passion, but it is often a trauma-based cycle rather than stable connection. Because avoidant individuals maintain distance, even small moments of closeness feel powerful to the empath. That inconsistency creates emotional highs and lows that deepen attachment and make it harder to see the pattern clearly. And because empaths are naturally inclined to heal, they often stay, hoping patience and understanding will eventually change things. But emotional healing cannot be carried by one person alone. Change only happens when the avoidant individual chooses to face their own inner world. One of the hardest parts for the empath is that they don't just feel attraction, they deeply understand the avoidant. They sense the fear, the emotional wounds, and the potential beneath the defenses. That understanding creates a powerful bond. Even when things become painful, the empath keeps seeing what is hidden underneath the behavior, and that makes letting go extremely difficult. It can turn into a belief that if they just love more, stay longer, or try harder, something will eventually shift. But without mutual inner work, the pattern remains the same. This is where the empath's lesson begins. Empathy was never meant to be self-sacrifice. It is not meant to drain them while trying to rescue someone else. This pattern exists because both personalities are shaped by early emotional experiences. Many super empaths grew up learning to read emotions to stay safe, often putting others first. Avoidant individuals often learned that vulnerability wasn't safe, so they shut down emotionally to protect themselves. So when they meet, it feels familiar. The empath moves toward connection. The avoidant moves away from it. It feels like love, but it is actually survival patterns interacting. The shift happens when the empath begins to see their sensitivity differently. Their depth is not a flaw, it is something powerful that deserves protection. But it cannot be poured endlessly into relationships where it is not returned or held. Avoidant individuals can love, but only when they choose to confront their emotional wounds. And empaths must also release the belief that love must be earned through fixing others. When the empath stops chasing and starts choosing, everything changes. They move from emotional exhaustion to emotional clarity, from reaction to intention, from depletion to self-respect. And in that shift, the dynamic reveals its truth, whether there is real mutual connection or just repetition of old patterns. In the end, super empaths often attract avoidants because their emotional depth reaches places others cannot. But that depth is not meant to be given without limits. When protected, it stops attracting imbalance and starts attracting people who can truly meet it.